You are listening to the It's Your Time podcast, and I'm your host, Certified Life Coach Michelle Arnold Bourque. In today's episode, I'm sharing a recent conversation with confidence and career coach Savanna Symons, where we discussed breaking the overwork cycle and mindset shifts for high-achieving women. Welcome to the It's Your Time podcast, the podcast where busy professionals like you get the practical solutions and support you need to gain control of your schedule so you can strive to be the best in your career, but without the stress and overwhelm. If you're looking to increase your energy and decrease your stress, you are in the right place. Hello. Welcome back to the podcast, friends. I have another treat for you today. You know, I love being able to bring you folks who are helping more and more people do this work. And today, I am sharing a recent conversation with Savanna Symons, who is a professional coach, speaker, and business owner. Now, Savanna speaks from true lived experience, and she has spent years helping high-achieving professionals grow and improve their inner confidence and calm so they can achieve big things at work or in business and feel good about doing it. Imagine that. Confidence and calm, achievement and feel good doing it. You know, I love the power of and. And in today's conversation, we are unpacking what overworking really means, why so many high-achieving women default to it, and the hidden costs that go far beyond lost productivity. We also talked about the guilt that can sneak in when you slow down, how perfectionism and imposter syndrome can quietly drive the cycle, and maybe most importantly, the mindset shifts and simple daily habits that can help you finally loosen overthinking's grip. So, if you have been craving permission to work differently, this one is for you. Now, without further ado, please take a listen. Okay, this is going to be so much fun. Can you get us started by introducing yourself in a way that you most enjoy?
Yes, I love that. I love that question of the way you most enjoy. My name is Savanna Symons. I want to say thank you so much for having me, Michelle. I'm a life and leadership coach and have been coaching high achievers all over the world for the past 6+ years. People come to me because they want to feel more confident and regulated, confident and maybe calm in their work and businesses so that they can show up the way that they want and really blow them out of the water, really thrive. So I've worked with entrepreneurs and business owners to help them grow their businesses with confidence and calm. And I've also worked with a whole bunch of people in corporate, physicians, lawyers, doctors, C-suite executives, all of everyone over there, all leaders at all different levels that identify as high achievers to help them show up the way that they want and feel the way that they want in their work and life.
Yeah, that is so good. I feel like so many of us can benefit from regulating and calming,
Mm.
right? But I think, and I'd love to know from your experience, I know with the folks I work with, especially high achievers, there is this need to, well, we were just talking about it kind of before we started hitting record, also to just keep working, right? To overwork. And I think that becomes comfortable for a lot of people. So maybe you can dive into maybe even just getting us started with your definition of what overworking is.
Love that, because I think we can easily think of overworking as like, oh, we have this project, I went too hard on it. I like to differentiate overworking much more as this pattern, not this short-term thing where we're like, I pushed too hard and, this project was really demanding, or this time period maybe. Overworking isn't just about pushing past what's necessary or even what's required. I like to think about overworking as really pushing past our own capacities, pushing past our own body's signals, our own needs to get something done, even when our body's like, our system is like, hey, we need to take a break here. We need to slow down. I think when I say that, though, it's really hard because most of us, especially the high achieving population, because this is sort of our default setting, we don't even think about that. We're like, my body says I can still go. But if we really listen to our body, right? If we really felt the exhaustion or the anxiety or the stress that was happening in our body, we would be able to go, okay, I'm noticing I'm pushing past some capacities. I'm pushing past some limits.
Yeah, I love this. I think so many of us don't trust what we hear from our body. So I love that you say it's default. And I know I've been guilty of this, like not even paying attention when people say, like, well, what's your body telling you? I'm like, what is my body telling? What the hell do you mean by that? So can you maybe
Yes.
help folks who are listening and not really sure, like, what are they talking about how my body feels? And we talked
Yes.
about this also before, right? Like nervous system regulation. Like, what is that?
Yeah. Yeah. To give like the listeners a good idea of something they may be able to relate to. Cause I'm with you. I was like, what do you mean? My body's fine. Let's just keep working. I got to get these things done, which is so the high achiever way. I feel like it's very easy for us to be up in our heads and less in our bodies, which means it's a lot easier for us to override what's going on in our central nervous systems. It's a lot easier for us to blow past pieces that might be signals or symptoms of feeling overworked. But something we could all understand is burnout, right? Burnout is like, I'm mentally exhausted, I'm physically exhausted, I'm feeling it everywhere. Burnout is the extreme of pushing past, of overworking beyond all of those signals. So, a great signal that I think is valuable, and we'll talk more about kind of what's behind overworking, but is that buzz of anxiety. You've been going all day, or maybe all week, or all month, or all year, and you have this buzz of anxiety. You feel it in your body, right? So even when you're sitting on the couch, or you're with your family at the dinner table, or you're trying to be present on a Saturday afternoon at the beach, you can feel that you're not relaxed. You might be new to that idea that you're like, I don't really know where I'm feeling it, but I can just tell I don't feel calm. I don't feel right. I might feel it in my stomach, or I might have another symptom that looks like rumination, overthinking, excessive thinking. So it's starting to pay attention to some of these symptoms where our nervous system is going, I really don't feel safe here. I really don't feel okay.
Yeah.
You're nodding your head. Tell me. Yeah.
Yeah, oh my god, this is it because I think now as you're saying that, this is kind of where I started getting into coaching, I think, because I would, at the end of the day, feel like, "Okay, there's gotta be more to life than this," like, I had that sense of anxiety, and I would have wine, right? Like, "Okay, I need to calm down, or I need to sleep better," and so I think then there's an extra layer of, "Maybe I shouldn't have had that extra glass of wine," like, you don't feel as productive, so it's a cycle, but that's just like a Band-Aid on it.
So well said. Yeah, because you're trying to help yourself feel calmer. Like, even the behaviors of us trying to escape the way we feel are such great tells for us. They're such great signals, being like, oh, if I need a glass of wine at the end of the day. Like, that's how I'm gonna, or I need to scroll Instagram for another hour, hour and a half because it's just been such a hard day. I'm so stressed. That gets to be our first sign that, hey, maybe this body is feeling really on edge. Maybe this nervous system is feeling really activated. Maybe I'm feeling really stressed out. Can I start exploring overworking, and even deeper, because I think a lot of us are overworking, why am I doing it? So that we can solve for the cause.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point. I think that is definitely what we need to do. My kind of thought initially is when we're going for the wine, like it seems like that's what everybody's doing, right? You go with your girlfriends and everybody has wine, and like we don't want to take the time to actually do the internal work on ourselves because it just seems like that's what everybody does. But it's
Mhm.
really stepping out of that and kind of honoring what is going on inside for myself, right? And making those changes.
Totally. Yeah, and, like, have wine. That's okay. Like, we're not demonizing any one thing or Instagram or anything. We're noticing that something we're doing when we're in that state of overworking is we are coming inherently from an activated, stressed out place. So if we're trying to put a Band-Aid solution on it as a long-term strategy, that is tricky because I mean, this is why so many of us are burnt out because we're just pushing through something and keep trying to slap a band-aid on it when really we're feeling terrified, anxious, stressed out, overworked, right? And we're a significant part of why it keeps happening.
And I love going back to the burnout idea because I find oftentimes people will say, like, my job burns me out, right? It's that outsourcing of the external. And maybe there are things in your job, right? But I think it always comes back to where we hold our power is where do we need to set boundaries? Where is it that we need to say no? Like, what are some of the things that we can do? And why do we feel guilty when we do want to say no or when we want to rest? Like, what do you see and how do you help your clients with that?
Okay, I love that so much because what you're talking about is exactly you're coming from this empowered stance. I don't want to, for a moment, pretend like there are not systems at play that ask us to work very hard and to push past our needs and capacities. That is true. We also live in a society that glorifies achievement and glorifies productivity and rewards overworking. So we get to just hold that truth while we also talk about where do I have power? Where do I have control in my work? And I think the first step is for us to really recognize A, am I overworking? What does that look like in my life, in my role? Right? Because often I find with the high achievers that I work with, not only are they overworking in their work, they're overworking when they get home. They're like, I'm exhausted. This was me for the longest time and still can be sometimes. It's like, I'm exhausted. I've done so much and I'm just going to clean the whole kitchen. And then I'll quickly sweep and vacuum. And then I'll quickly do this and I'll just do a load of laundry and da, 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 da. It becomes a pattern we bring into all areas of our lives. And I think when we get to recognize that what overworking and overthinking, right? It really is, it's coming from this activated, fear-based state. That's when we get to go, okay, I have a greater awareness of why I'm doing this. And then we can start trying to solve for the real problem versus what I think most of us do is go, I'm overworking, I'm exhausted, I'm burnt out. I'm just going to try and stop working so much. It's like if you don't feel safe doing that or you don't feel good enough doing that, right? If your worth is tied up in your productivity or your sense of self is tied up or your sense of safety, that was me. My sense of safety was very tied up in how much I achieved. It becomes really tough to slow down and stop that. And I feel like I'm not answering your question because we're so
No,
far
I
past
think
it now, but
it's so good because like, there's so many things that you're saying that I'm like, "Yep, yep, yep, yep," because I
Mhm.
know even recently, and I've done this work for so long, we were on vacation and I have the Aura Ring, and so I'm still, like, stuck to whole numbers and gamifying sales, it's in my brain. So I was looking at my numbers, and even on vacation, my heart rate was elevated, and what I learned, I was talking to one of my friends who does a lot of the somatic stuff, and then I talked to Mark, and I'm like, "It makes sense." I was trying to tell myself I was doing a really good job of not working while I was on vacation, and so I think that part of like, I'm getting chills just saying it because I'm like, "That's it," because I it's hard for me to relax when it's not relaxing, right? And so, like, how we do one thing is how we do so many things. I agree, and I think that we try to take on everything, right? Like, I'll just do it myself, and really being able to I like to say, there's spirals of growth, but we first have to be aware, what you mentioned,
Mhm.
that this is not just the way it is, it's like the way that I'm thinking about how I'm approaching all of these things.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing that because every high achiever has been there. I'm like, that's I've done that. I'm like, I'm relaxing so hard right now. Look at me. Look at me. Right? Like I'm doing rest correctly, right? I've been there. Goodness, we've all been there. And I feel like so many of my clients are there too. They're like, I did this thing. It's like we're still trying to get that check mark like we do on the to-do list, right? And when I think about clients who struggle with rest, which is a lot of my clients, I would say, because we've been so programmed to work towards achievement, and we're in a culture that is very continually programming us as well. I think we get to explore their beliefs, but also um, the beliefs they have around productivity and self-worth and their inherent value, whether or not they're productive. We also get to think about the systems that uphold those beliefs, right? Like those are not the maybe the systems that we might automatically trust, right? And we get to remind them, we get to explore our own humanity. Exactly how you're talking about. You're like, I notice my body is doing something. We're like, we're not a machine. But we kind of forget to slow down enough to go, okay, can I care about my human experience outside of being productive? Because that's the thing you hear constantly. I'm seeing the shift now in some of the words, but I saw this constantly. It was like, just letting you know, if you rest, you'll actually be more productive later. And it's like, but that's not the point. The point is, you're not a machine. It's not rest so you can create more productivity only, which is true, sure. It's can you notice that you are whole and good enough? And you can accomplish amazing things in your life, but you don't have to do it at the sacrifice of your own well being.
Mm, I think that's probably a challenging shift for a number of people. I think that's a
Yeah.
great point because I do think there's definitely this level of worthiness, and I think it can go back to childhood, right? I mean, as simple as like I know growing up, like if there was a B, right? Why was it a B and not an A, right? So it's kind of like how do we as children then interpret it? Not getting like too deep, but like then we're always trying to go for the next goal, right? Like I feel like a lot of the people I work with don't even take the time to recognize how far they've come. Right. So, like, being that back to your, like, you just keep going. You're on the hamster wheel and going, going. Nothing is ever enough.
Yep. You know, I'll just offer, we were talking about how I am a relatively new mom. I have a 2-year-old. I'm pregnant with a baby on the way. And something I have heard and practiced with my little one, and I will continue to practice, that I thought was so game changing was instead of them accomplishing something and me always saying, I'm so proud of you. Look at you. Oh my gosh, you're so great. And rewarding them with praise, I ask them, how did that make you feel? How do you feel? What do you think about that?
Yep.
And what it does is it starts building the internal voice they have about themselves, which is what a lot of us feel we wish we had, especially as high achievers. We're very outsourced. We're outsourcing our sense of self-worth, our confidence, even our sense of regulation, our sense of feeling good enough, our sense of being able to cope. We're like, I need the outside world achievements, people's opinions, awards, whatever it is, results, to feel like I belong, to feel regulated, to feel like there's a place for me. And what we get to do, both as parents and now as like reparenting ourselves, is can I nurture that voice within to start going, I am good enough, or I'm proud of myself, or wow, you did enough today. You know, you really tried, and that's what matters.
Yeah, and I don't even think because my first thought is like, oh, people listen might think like, oh, that's getting soft because right, everybody's the high achiever and like has to do. And I think there's that busy badge of honor that you're talking about. I don't
Uh-huh.
think it's an or. I think it can be an and. Like you can love yourself
Yes.
and still achieve things. Like I feel like we beat ourselves down and think that's the way, but like maybe that can be the shift in thinking. I can be nice to myself and still accomplish great things.
Yes, yes. I wanna say, if I love the quote, and I'll never be able to get it fully right, but it's like, if beating yourself up and berating yourself worked, it would have worked by now, right? Like, you can do so much more and feel so much better when you are actually good to yourself, when you listen to your body, when you treat yourself with respect, when you meet your needs, right? Like, just think about, just if we were to look at someone else, right? Even plants, and you know, plants respond better when we talk positively to them. It's crazy, right? And I don't have any. There's lots of studies. You can look that up. I'll leave it to the Googlers to look it up. But we're just getting to see that, like, this, the overworking and this place of fear that we're coming from, because when we're overworking, we are usually doing it from a place of, I'm not good enough, I have to prove myself, or I'm not good enough, I'm going to be found out, right? Like that imposter syndrome. when we're working from that, you're only going to get so far. And I know it's taken high achievers pretty far, but I want you just to imagine how far it could take you if you felt good enough, if you felt regulated, if you felt confident. Like it's inevitably going to take us farther. So it's such a
100%.
worthwhile journey. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, and I think it's taken me a while to get there, and that's why I try to put this information out because my goal is for younger people. I mean, it doesn't matter what age, but if we can start this earlier, like even with my nieces, to your point, your 2-year-old, I'll do it with my nieces. Like, aren't you so proud of yourself? Like, not looking for that external validation because let's be honest. At the end of the day, no matter what anybody says, like Mark will say to me, like, "You look great today." I'll be like, "Yeah, he's just saying that." Like, it's us. We have to have those conversations with ourselves.
Yeah. 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 That, what a great example because clients say that all the time. They have proof that their businesses are good enough, that their services are valuable, that their work is important, and they don't believe it. And it's not because they're not getting the external validation. They have the titles, they have the achievements, they have the salaries, they have the income, the whatever, and the voice in their head, as well as a nervous system that is activated, are giving them all the signs that say, you're not okay, you're not safe here, you don't belong, you won't be okay. We need to push harder, right?
Yeah. And I think too, when you talk about the voice in your head, I've been doing so much more research and work with like hypnosis and subconscious reprogramming and the thoughts that we aren't even aware of. Like sometimes I'll be doing this, somatic work and all of a sudden I'll have this thought that I'm like, I didn't even know that was in there. But like you can't make the change if you don't know it's there, right? So we talk about the awareness and integration. And to your point, I think when we're able to start making that shift, then it's the expansion. Like, what else could be possible? Like, yes, high achievers, you're doing amazing things. And what else is possible?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I always ask that question, like, what do you think would be possible if you approach this situation, whatever it is, the challenging situation with your CEO or getting on a sales call with a client. What do you think would be possible if you felt confident or if you felt calm? And they're like, oh my gosh, I would be this, I would do this, I would do this, I would do this. I'm like, yeah, and can we just notice that when we're in an activated state caused by and coming from overwork, it is hard for you to get there, right? So, like, understanding the repercussions of our behavior, of behaviors like overwork, which exacerbate stress and keep us in an activated, like, I'm not good enough, I need to prove myself state, actually hinders our ability to show up the way that we want. It's short-term relief because you're like, I'm getting so much done and I feel busy and I'm like, I'm being productive. I'm gonna pat myself on the back. And in the long term, it keeps us from showing up the way that we want because it keeps us from showing up the way that we want to feel. So yeah,
Yeah, I
with
think
you.
too, one of the coaches that we worked with together, I know one of the questions she asked me, which I thought was the hardest question ever, was, Michelle, what do you want? And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? I mean, I think everybody's like running to like make everybody else happy and do all the other things that as women, high achievers, like we don't even take the time when you say, like, how would you show up? Do you even know what you want in that
Yeah.
state? Right?
Yeah. That is such a hard question. Like that is a hard question still, because we're not, especially as women, so well said, we're not really told to figure out what we want. We figure out what we want based on what is around us and what is shared with us. How do you want to live your life? And when I ask clients that, especially if they've been overworking or if they've been stressed, it feels like a silly question to them because they're like, well, I'll answer this question for you, but I can't actually have that. And when they start opening up to this idea that maybe they could achieve what they want, they could hit these beautiful milestones, but they don't have to sacrifice their own well-being or their own mental health or their own nervous systems, or their sense of worth to get there, that's when they start to make a shift. But that takes time because we just don't believe that we can have and get to feel truly the way that we want all together.
Yeah. Is there one kind of shift that you suggest to your clients maybe daily or a habit or something to try to, because I am a big believer in like the compound effect. And it doesn't have to be like we go from, not believing to like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like just kind of chipping away and having the compound effect. Is there something that you could help folks with?
Yeah, I love that question. Two things come to mind actually. Um, One is more of a I'll give it kind of a short-term strategy and a long-term, maybe internal shift. Short-term strategy, I think for high achievers, we are constantly thinking about all that we haven't done. I remember a girlfriend of mine saying you can put 10 things on your list and you will get 8 of them done. And the only thing you see is the 2 that you missed. And I'm like, oh my God, you have me pegged. This is so true. That's okay, great, right? Like that is us. We're so busy thinking about the to do list, what hasn't been done. I think something that can really help high achievers start to feel good enough and recognize themselves is a done list. A done list is something you can do at the end of the day. You can even do it midday that recognizes everything you've accomplished already as a way that you get to recognize yourself. So I've had clients do this and they're like, by 9 a.m., I've showered, I've gotten my kids dressed, I fed them, I fed myself, I put a load of laundry in, I got the clothes ready, I packed my bag. Like there's so many different things that they've done before even they've
People
gotten
got
to
up.
this. And I remember one client just being blown away by all that she had accomplished, let alone in a day, because she never felt like she was enough and she could do enough. And when she started doing her done list, she could see, oh my gosh, in a day, I've done so much. And I don't even recognize that. So that is a way to help your brain start to recognize all that you do and see yourself as good enough. As a long-term strategy, I think recognizing the pattern of overworking is huge. How do we recognize the pattern of overworking or overthinking? When you start pushing past your limits, or when you're in this busy, like, I need to figure it out, or you notice the buzz in your body or depletion or whatever, starting to notice that and interrupt it however you can. Whether that's, I need to go for a walk, I need to put this away, I need to say no and set boundaries, I need to put my hand on my heart and slow down and get into my body. The thing about overworking is that it's very cognitive, I find. It's very like our brain says, keep going, just finish this, we're almost done. The better we can get at being in our body, I'm going to sit down on the couch. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to put my hand on my heart and slow my breathing down and just notice it. The easier it is to start changing that pattern. But we can't necessarily just change it cognitively because our brain will be like, okay, cool. I hear that you have some great ideas about why you should rest, but there's things to be done, right?
You listen to a great podcast. Now let's get to work.
Exactly, exactly. This can be that podcast. The better we can get at being in our body and out of our head, which I don't want to, pretend that that's this quick fix, but the slower we can get and get into our body and be there, I think that's where real change starts to happen.
Yeah, I love it. I actually have done the first suggestion that you have as far as writing down what you've done because I still do that sometimes, or I'll at least take a moment to stop and think like, okay, you've already worked out, you've done your meditation, you've read, you've done this, like to rewire our neural pathways, right? Like it's easy for us to tell ourselves what we haven't done. That's the habit brain that we have. So this is
Yeah.
to work to really, from a scientific standpoint, like to change the neural pathways. I think that's awesome. And I love your hand on the heart. I think that's even something if you can't, go for a walk or something, maybe you're just in your car and you can just take that minute to like remind yourself that you're safe. Like I didn't realize how far that can go, the breath work and just taking a minute like can settle your system.
The fact that you said you're safe, I'm so glad you said that because that's a big part of like that's a big part of why we're activated, a big part of overworking. That's exactly it. When we think about being afraid, right? When we're like overworking, we're usually doing it from this fear-based, I'm not good enough, I'm going to be found out, or I need to prove myself, or there's fear there. We can just slow down and remind ourselves that in this moment, it's okay, we're safe. That changes the way our brain works. It changes what we're thinking about, what we're looking at. Like, it's so valuable. I love that
Yeah.
addition. Yes.
So it's so fun. Have we I want to make sure we know where people can find you, but have we missed anything before we get to that?
I think there's so much we could always
We
talk
could we
about,
could
but
be here for
like
honors. Yeah. Hours and hours.
I think the better we get at knowing when we're overworking and knowing why we're doing it, right? We're coming from this place of like not feeling good enough or trying to prove ourselves, the easier it becomes to change the behavior. If you're trying to change a behavior, but the beliefs behind it, and I know Michelle, you talk about this, the beliefs behind it don't match up. Like you're like, I'm not good enough, or I'm gonna be let go if I don't prove myself, or I'm never gonna make enough money if I don't hustle. It's never gonna work because those beliefs are what's fueling the behavior. So not just understanding that it's this, there's these feelings behind overworking that are driving it, but that there's a series of beliefs that we have to understand and start to dismantle if we want to make real changes.
That's a great place to end it. That's so spot on. Where can
Totally.
people find you?
Yes, they can find me on at my website, savannasymons.com. Simons is spelled Symons. And I run a weekly newsletter called The Shift. It helps people shift into greater confidence and calm. Exactly what we're talking about here, but people are welcome to join. And you can also find me on LinkedIn and Instagram at Savanna Symons.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. This has been a blast.
Thank you so much for having me, Michelle.
Okay, wasn't that great? I love the work that Savannah is doing. And please, if this landed for you and maybe you know a gal or two who can relate, be sure to share it. And how fun if you could also tag Savannah and I. So let's say Instagram at Michelle Bourque Coaching, at Savannah Symons. I love hearing from you, and I know she will as well. I will be sure to have all of Savannah's links in the notes. And of course, any questions, you can always feel free to reach out to me directly. Okay, that's what I have for you today. Let's meet back next week. But for now, make it a great day. Take care. Did you know you can take this work to a deeper level with me one on one? Go to michelleburkecoaching.com and click on Get Started to begin.